Alright, hey guys. We're in Numbers 23 today, and just as kind of a quick overview, if we back up to, I think it was 21, Balak had, actually beginning of 22, Balak, who was the king of Moab, had contacted Balaam to get him to curse the Israelites. Um, Balaam meets with God. God says don't do it, and basically they go through the series of encounters. You can look at the parts 1 and 2. But one of the things that I wanted to point out was that, first off, Balak, the king, recognized that Balaam had power, or that Balaam's God had power. And obviously was looking to access that power to accomplish his will, which was to curse the Israelites so that they wouldn't overcome him and his people. Um, the part that I found interesting, though, is how similar this is to a lot of people today, like we've talked about before, that want to put God into some sort of a box and basically treat him almost like a butler, like he's here to serve us. God bless me here. God, curse these people here. Um, like he's just up there just granting wishes, and that's not the God of the Bible. That's we call that a genie, uh, where you can just make wishes, and that's what he does. God is really not interested. Um, it's not that he's not interested, rather, in your happiness, but God is more interested in our holiness than he is our happiness. He's more interested in our development and growth than he is in giving us what we want. No different than any one of us would be as a father. Um, More interested in our kids learning lessons, growing up, being responsible adults, and not getting into meth. Your kid wants to do drugs, but you're like, no, that's not what I want for you, and you discipline him. And God is no different with his children. So it's we need to think that, or we need to understand that when God tells us no to things, it's not because he's being overbearing or anything like that. He's telling us no because it's something that is not his will. And once again, we go to Romans, 8, 28, and all things work together for good for those that love God. Um, the point of that passage is that not that all things that happen to us are good, but that they work together for good. So we may go through rough patches, but those patches God is using to develop us and to grow us. But once again, when we get to chapter 23, he starts off the chapter and he says, "And Balaam said to Balak, build me here 7 altars." Let me explain here real quick. Basically, after the donkey incident, God tells Balaam, all right, that's fine, you go ahead and you go there, but you better only say what I tell you to say. So Balaam agrees, and then they go, and then in the first part of 23, Balaam meets up with Balak and tells him, build me 7 altars and prepare me here 7 oxen and 7 rams. And Balak did as Balaam had spoken, and Balak and Balaam offered on every altar a bullock and a ram. And basically, he stands there and he makes this offering. The point is that throughout this passage, Balaam takes, or Balak rather, the king. I'm just going to refer to him as the king. The king takes Balaam to these different ports in the kingdom, and he's like overlooking from the mountains. He's overlooking the Israelites, and he's telling them, look at all these people here. I mean, they're going to wipe me out. And Balaam is like, look, I've already told you, I can only do what it is that God tells me to do. And then he goes over and he's like, all right, well, let's go over here. And he sacrifices again, and he's like, see, look at all these people. And Balaam keeps telling him, look, I can only do what God tells me to do. And over and over and over, Balak is trying to convince God, so to speak, through Balaam to curse the Israelites. But once again, the reason why is not for anything other than his own selfish purposes. He feels like he's going to lose in battle and these people are going to overtake him. Um, but he's really not interested in knowing God. He's really not interested in coming to a relationship with God. He's more interested in just getting God to be his butler, to serve him and accomplish his will. So I just wanted to kind of point out the unbending nature of the king of Balak, and how he basically just kept trying to get God to do what it was that he wanted to do, and not try to see what it was, what God's will was, and how it should have been. So anyway, wanted to point that out. Tomorrow we're still going to continue on. This relationship continues on for another chapter or so. So, all right, God bless.